fine. That may be the case with the opposition leader. But now, what has Jubilee government done to ensure that corruption is gotten rid of in this country? And I know the script that has been used so far is that several cabinet secretaries have left, but so far we have no convictions whatsoever. Yet there's so many billions of shillings missing.
First of all, let me say this, that when we wrote our manifesto, the manifesto of Jubilee is very clear on corruption. It says that we will increase levels of accountability. The reason why there's greater exposure, knowledge about what's happening in government, and particularly national government, without interference of the state, is because this administration believes that there's nothing to be hidden from the public when it comes to exposure and discussion and fighting corruption. The president can only do what he can do by law. That is his responsibility, is to ensure that if there's any person in his administration that is suspected of corruption, to be able to step aside. His responsibility is to ensure that resources are given to EACC, resources are given to DPP. There's never been a time that we've funded institutions of accountability like now, that the CID and also institutions are having resources, the police, to carry out their responsibilities. So the point is this, that Kenyans must accept one thing. We can't have our cake and eat it. We can't say that DPP must act independently, and when he acts independently, we say the president should have actually done out the work of DPP of prosecution. We can't say our courts will be independent and now say that, oh yeah, because the courts are independent by constitution, but the president is the president of Kenya, should have talked to Chief Justice, should have called a judge and told him, judge, convict this person. We must accept as Kenyans that we give ourselves a constitution that gives each one of us responsibility to discharge their job. And I think the president, and it is absolutely irresponsible and dishonest to misquote the president when he said, what can I do? In State House the other day. And now I see the mantra is being used by both newspapers and media and court that all the president is helpless. It is not true. The president was made helpless by the constitution to a certain extent.
So it is true that he's helpless because of the constitution?
Absolutely. The constitution tells the president, you can do this, you cannot talk to DPP. In fact, if today the president directs DPP, the next stage, it will be a ground of impeachment. Today, if the president calls a judge, gone are the days where the president will sit with a judge, they would be. So we must accept the rule of law, we must accept independence, but acknowledge that we have exposed corruption more. People have stepped aside because of corruption. We have funded the institutions that are dealing with corruption. And the last part I want to say is that let's not lie to ourselves. The people who bribe others are not Ugandans, they are not Tanzanians, they are not Chinese. The people who bribe people are Kenyans.
But they say the fish rots from the top. And as a result, Jubilee government has a mandate to ensure that corruption at this point in time should be gotten rid of. However, when you look at the national government, they spill fridge. I mean, we have the IFMIS, which was initially supposed to be foolproof and tamper-free, but that has not been the case. Are you happy with the state of corruption in Kenya?
I am not happy with the state of corruption in Kenya.
Are you happy with what the government has done so far
happy with the state of corruption in
dealing
Kenya.
With corruption?
I believe that the executive, because now if you say government, there's too many arms of government. If you say executive, I think we've done our best. But the independent institution, EACC and DPP, honestly, inordinate delays are taking place when it comes to investigations. Persons who are now called whistleblowers. You remember Anwar Guru was initially being called a whistleblower, and other people like Harake and others. There is a lot of hiding behind whistleblowing and selective prosecution of individuals. And these independent institutions, honestly, must be able to up their game to carry out the responsibility in a manner that will give confidence to Kenyans, because ultimately people think, because we have come up from a nation for 50 years where presidency is control of everything, people think if prosecution is not done, it's the president. If investigation is not done, it's the president. If it, so we must be able to, as Kenyans, the same way people think in the village that if the senator is not there, the senator should have done the road, should have, paid school fees, should have done all that. The erroneous belief that this leader does this. We must understand whose responsibility. And I usually tell people in the village that if you give a student exams, maths exams, you must use maths marking scheme, the marking scheme of that exam to mark it. You cannot use Kiswahili to mark maths exams. And that's the same way. There's a lot of dishonesty in the conversation because you gave Uhuru Kenyatta a maths exam, you want to use now English marking scheme to mark what he's doing. And we must accept that this is our part, but let's stop the hypocrisy. Kenyans are the ones who come to us and say, can you call so-and-so to get me a job? Kenyans who come to us and they think, can you influence this?
That is true, Senator, but we can't keep blaming and saying that because the opposition leader is not...
It's not opposition leader. It's not about opposition leader.
I'm just saying that we can't keep blaming and saying that as leaders, you say that it's the Kenyans who are bribing. Kenyans are saying the leaders are, ripping the country off. When it comes to government versus opposition, we say that opposition leader is also not leading the crusade. We'll keep going round in circles.
That's why I'm saying change does not come by imagining to change the nation. You must change from your doorstep. If you start from yourself, it goes to your village, it goes to the nation. But this imagination that change can only happen because so-and-so has carried out responsibility on my behalf, because I elected the president, I go to sleep, I no longer want to stop paying bribes. I mean, we sit in matatus and people, you reach there and people are just saying, Lipa huyo askari 20. And all of us are just saying, oh, these are small fish. There is no sin which is smaller. It is the reason why we condoned the so-called small fish that now we are in this mess.
All right.